Most Holy Family Monastery left a traditional Catholic priest starving. Note, this is a re-upload of a video originally published in May 17th, 2020. The content is almost identical to the original upload, except for the following correction, and some parts that I rewrote to make more clear. I no longer think that a person who uses the term co-redemptrix, applying it to Our Lady, is a heretic, as I thought before and I shared in the past. Now my position is that the term is erroneous and should not be used, but since some popes used it in the past, I think that it can be held in good faith, as long as the person doesn't use the term to say that Our Lady redeemed the world as if she were equal to our Lord in the act of redemption. I repeat, although the term is ambiguous and problematic, since some popes use the term colloquially, some laymen also can use it colloquially with similar intentionality, unless the pope later on decrees that this term is off limits. I want to publicly apologize to Father Darovis Caballero from Cuba for thinking that his usage of the term co-redemptrix meant that he became a heretic. That was a mistake on my part, due to the fact that I embraced the Dimondite leadership completely. Now let's start with the video's original content. Most of you don't know this, but several years ago, a validly ordained traditional Catholic priest converted to traditional Catholicism. He was in agreement with Most Holy Family Monastery about everything dogmatic, and if I remember, even on their exegesis on the end times. He lived at the time in Cuba. At the moment, I don't know where he lives. So it happened that I was extremely happy for his conversion, and we became close friends quickly. He is mentioned in my letter refuting the false accusations of occultism from Giovanni Olivares. Father Darovis said a novena of masses for my soul. At the time, I thought Most Holy Family Monastery would find joy in this new development. Oh boy, I was so wrong. On the first time that I spoke to Chris White, YouTube Fatima Sacrifice, via phone about this traditional Catholic priest, he was very hostile, cutting me off in the middle of my sentences, speculating without any basis whatsoever that he might not be a Catholic at all, and similar stuff. You have to realize how grave this behavior was, since Chris White lived at the time in the property of the monastery, answering the phones that came to them. The general hostility towards the idea of having a traditional Catholic priest was extremely puzzling to me, but my way of dealing this was as follows. Well, the majority of people are bad-willed, so it makes sense that at the beginning this priest finds opposition that is born out of prudence and caution. He needs to do penance for his past sins regarding taking communion while believing heresies. Now I realize that these assumptions were just a sad excuse in favor of this abominable cult of the Most Holy Family Monastery. Since I perceived the hostility of this whole situation, I never told anybody about Father Darovis unless they were close to me already through friendship, and since I thought a time of trial was necessary. Well, some months later, it happened that many Catholics, both in the United States and Latin America, reacted exactly as I reacted, with extreme joy, and even making plans to travel to Cuba, and even living there. So when they found out, they started to send donations to Father Darovis organically. Well, that didn't sit right with the Dimond's envy, so months later they ordered through Chris White and Brother Jerome Torres to stop donating completely to this 100% traditional Catholic priest. Chris White contacted the people who spoke English, and Brother Jerome contacted people who spoke Spanish. I know this for a fact, and my wife is a witness, and the people who received the messages know this is true, as well as Chris White. The majority of Dimondites obeyed, even though, for instance, my wife and I felt confused as to why this was even an issue at all. Some Catholics continued to send donations to Father Darovis regardless of the order. Around that time, a hurricane hit Cuba, and Father Darovis was without any money, without food, and even without wine to consecrate and host the same Mass. Even though I had made known to my brother-in-law, Brother Jerome Torres, of the dire situation of the priest, the Dimonds did not want to relent or give any assistance to the priest whatsoever, and that struck me as extremely strange behavior. But at the time, I withheld judgment and just assumed the best of the Dimond brothers. But now I can say confidently and publicly that their behavior was a disgraceful sacrilege, born out of pride and a criminal desire to get all the money, even if a priest is starving, due to their wicked selfishness. Months after this scandal, Father Darovis broke away from the Dimonds over a dispute over the term co-redemptrix when applied to Our Lady, for which the Dimonds label him a heretic, but now I personally think was a harsh judgment on behalf of the wicked Dimonds. Behold, the abominable envy of these guys. They didn't like the idea of competing with a traditional Catholic priest, even though the priest was not even in the notion of competing with them. He even shared DVDs of the Dimonds to their congregation and to people inside Cuba. Down with the tyranny, and down with their wicked and modernistic ecclesiology. Most Holy